Well, I did tell you to prepare for a deluge of articles just like this, and now that the first African-American owner of Twitter is a reality, but even I could not have expected this level of lunacy. As in this Time article, not only will the author argue that women don't really care about freedom, that's a man thing, which is not only incredibly insulting to fully half of humanity's population, but also one hell of a hot take. It'll then go on to say that tech people and engineers, well, they simply don't understand humans, you see, having far too much sympathy with AIs and computers, I guess, because, well, the majority of humanity really just kinda hates free speech, didn't you know? Rightio then, let's get right into it, starting with, one beginning hot take here. They say that something is worth what someone will pay for it. If that's true, then protecting free speech, quotation marks of course, which Elon Musk has cited as a central reason he agreed to buy Twitter for $44 billion this week, may be worth twice as much as solving America's homelessness problem. Oh no! How can a private individual choose to spend his own personal money on something that I don't agree with? What is the world coming to? Now, this has been an argument that has been floating around the Twitter sphere for quite some time, and apparently the progs think this is some kind of own. It's like, ha ha ha, Elon, you could have solved all the world's problems, couldn't you? You could have solved world hunger. It's worth more to him than educating every child in nearly 50 countries. Elon, why didn't you fix every problem on the earth with your money instead of, as a private individual, spending your money on a private investment? Because, you know, you could have done all of these things. You could have fixed homelessness. Wait, hold on. Homelessness in the US. Hold on a second. Just a moment. I feel like this is a problem that a certain other entity was supposed to fix. And hey, if 44 billion will fix it overnight, then the US budget of 6 trillion... This shouldn't really be an issue. Surely President Joe Biden could snap his fingers and fix this overnight. I mean, you even said it only cost half that. That's weird. It's almost as the problem is a pinch more complex than that, really. It's weird. What about world hunger? Because of course there was an exchange a while ago between was it the president or the spokesperson of the World Food Program? Elon said, oh hey, okay, if you think $6.6 billion will solve world hunger, right, give me a detailed plan and I'll make it happen. A month later, after much umming, eyeing and procrastinating, they came forth with a plan. This is the plan. That's it. This is the World Food Programme's grand, detailed, in-depth plan on how $6.6 billion will help solve world hunger. A Excel spreadsheet that looks like it could have been created by a 12-year-old. It's like, oh, we'll just spend $3 billion on food. Okay. And, right, okay, how are you going to transport it? How are you going to protect it? How are you going to distribute it? How much will disappear to local corruption? How much will disappear to your corruption? And how will this actually solve world hunger? And mind you as well, he rode that one back awfully quickly. Elon, this won't solve world hunger. It'll only be, a temporary stopgap measure which will last for like a year or so. Aha. Right, so pointless waste of money then, but very goddamn well. No. Elon Musk could not solve all the world's problems with $44 billion, and frankly, asking a private individual to solve the issues that you haven't been able to fix, that the governments of the world haven't been able to fix, that human society hasn't been able to fix, is not only stupid, it is thoroughly disingenuous. It's going, yes, you could do this, but you could also, I don't know, populate the galaxy, or speak to God or something otherwise equally retarded and impossible. This is not an own, this is simply an admission that the system that you're currently in control of, I repeat, apparently can't do much of anything, really. In the days since Musk agreed to terms on a deal to take Twitter private, nearly all of Musk's tweets have been about freedom and censorship on the platform. Like by free speech, I simply mean that which matches the law. I am against censorship that goes far beyond the law. Or Truth Social, terrible name, exists because Twitter censored free speech. Correct, and the extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all. Like, for example, a massive article in Time magazine's website. A magazine, by the way, founded by a Republican who is no doubt spinning quite vigorously in his tomb right about now, wishing that he'd burned it all down when he'd had the chance. Why does Musk care so much about this? Oh. Just let that one sink in for a second. Just let it stew for a moment there. Here we have a journalist, supposedly, a contributor to the largest commercial news and politics magazine in the world, asking, why does anyone care so much about freedom of speech? Charlotte Alters, just take a second here, and hold on, stop typing, look in the mirror, and just speak your profession out loud. I am a journalist. Or whatever you call yourselves these days. Where would you be if somebody didn't care about free speech? Where would you be if another billionaire, or well, $100 million by the standards of the day, which is basically a billionaire, cared about free speech so much that he would create an entire magazine revolving around these issues, the very one you are currently being published in? Why do people care about this? Journalists. Why would a guy who has pushed the boundaries of electrical vehicle manufacturing and plumbed the limits of commercial spaceflights care about who can say what on Twitter? Because without freedom, he can do none of these things. He is an entrepreneur, he is a grunder, he is a person who has created something from nothing. How do you think that works out in an overarching authoritarian control economy, do you think? Do you think there's a lot of freedom of speech there? Maybe perhaps the ability to say whatever he wanted on Twitter was in fact key commercial reasons for his success. As I saw recently one person notice on Twitter, Tesla doesn't have a PR department, they have an Elon Musk. Which is damn near true as well. Quotation mark, freedom of speech, quotation mark, has become a paramount concern of the tech moral universe. Has it? Or is this simply just your victimization complex going into overdrive again? But let's finish the thought, shall we? The issue has anchored nearly every digital media debate for the last 2 years. 2 years? From the deuced up of Joe Rogan at Spotify to vaccine misinformation on Facebook, Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg gave a major speech at Georgetown in 2019 about the importance of free expression. And has consistently relied on the theme when explaining why Facebook has struggled to curb disinformation on the platform. Why is this a hot button topic? And last 2 years? Woman, are you kidding me? We've been arguing this point for the last 10. The fact that you are finally now getting so much pushback that your freedom to censor is being brought into question doesn't mean that free speech has suddenly become an issue. It means that your overreach and authoritarian shit is becoming an issue. It does seem to be a dominant obsession with the most elite, the most driven Elon Musk of the world, says Fred Turner, a professor of communication at Stanford University. Yes, it's the elites that worry about this, like the EU Commissioner, for example, who recently came out and warned Elon that there were rules, or the President of the United States of America, who also said that you can't just go on and do anything. He was very concerned, you see, about too much power being in the hands of a handful of elite individuals. And do not even come to me and talk about, oh, the elites. You are writing for The Time magazine, the largest publication in the world, damn near. the elite, god damn it, who argues that free speech seems to be much more of an obsession among men, you see, and there we have it. Oh, you see, this is a man's problem. Women don't care about freedom. Again, a damning and rather sexist condemnation of half of the population, in my opinion, but details. Turner says, the drive to harness and define the culture around online speech is related to the entrepreneurial push that Elon Musk has been carrying out. I did in business, I did in space, and now I'm going to do it in the world. Aha. Business itself may be part of the motivation. Many of the most valuable digital platforms have business models that rely on mining users' content for data and selling it to advertisers. From the platform's perspective, more speech equals more cash. If that was the case, why are they so incredibly censorious? Why are they constantly under attack for their censorship? Why are they constantly under scrutiny by the various world governments of the world for their violations on the few free speech regulations that still exist? This is not a business problem, this is a morality problem. And this entire thing is the prog seeing himself in the mirror and going, hold on, he must have some other justification than merely free speech. There was this lovely little Twitter post I saw recently, where you've got the self-insert going, are you against blah 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 blah, and the Republican going, of course I am, these are dreadful things, and then the self-insert going, look, it's the Bible, are you for banning the Bible in school? Yes, in fact, the Bible has been banned in schools for a very long time now, because unlike the goddamn progs, the right wing, the authoritarians, have long realized that there is a place for freedom of speech, and that children shouldn't be indoctrinated in one universalist worldview. But again, they can't help but see the entire world as a political competition between authoritarian forces, rather than a struggle between freedom and, well, outright goddamn tyranny. But free speech in the 21st century means something very different than it did in the 18th, and as on cue, there we have the tyranny. No, free speech means the exact, literal same thing now as it did in the 1800s, as it did in the 1700s, the 1600s, back to the very dawning days of man. Free speech means free speech. There are no ifs, there are no buts, there are no limits on this, or, well, there are. These straight up illegal ones. Things that do active harm, actual harm, like defamation, or literal legal threats of violence or actions of violence, of terrorism. These things are already illegal. Beyond these limits, which we have all agreed upon for literally all of damn near eternity at this point, free speech is absolute. And right now, it has never been more limited than previously before. The right to say what you want without being imprisoned is not the same as the right to broadcast disinformation to millions of people on a corporate platform. Ah yes, my private company can do whatever it wants. Well, in that case, shut the F up, Time journalist. Elon Musk is well within his right to, well, kick you off his platform if he so chooses. He's well within his right to police your speech. But journalism. No, this is your argument now. Shush. And furthermore, the right to say what you want without being imprisoned. You can be imprisoned for saying things on Twitter. We have literal hate speech laws in effect now. This is the issue as well. The tyrants don't even understand how much tyranny they have imposed upon the common man, because they've never stopped and stooped down from their ivory tower to have a closer look at the burning wreckage that they've turned the world into. In a culture that places a premium on achieving the impossible, some tech titans may also see the liberal consensus on acceptable speech. The liberal consensus on acceptable speech. Oh my god. The entire writing of this is just so far beyond the realms of what is normal. There is zero introspection here whatsoever. The liberal consensus on the regulation of speech. Contra the far-right conservative consensus of simply getting to say whatever you want. God damn it. As yet another boundary to break. In Silicon Valley, bucking the liberal conventions about harmful speech can seem like the maverick move. Contrarianism is a big part of this free speech thing. If the left says, I can't do X, Y, Z, that makes a lot of people want to do it more. So, again, the left says, hey, we're going to take away your freedoms. And the maverick move is saying, no, I would like to keep those. It's contrarianism, is it? Holy hell. I struggle to imagine the mind capable of writing this shit. Contrarianism, whether it is embodied by Elon Musk or Andrew Yang or Bernie Sanders or Joe Rogan, becomes this ideology in itself. Alright. Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, these are all just contrarians. Like, Bernie Sanders is the conservative contrarian now. As much as I dislike Bernie Sanders, I'm gonna give him more credit than calling him just a goddamn contrarian. Jason Goldman, who was on the founding team at Twitter and served the company's board from 2007 to 2010, one of those backstabbers that we heard about recently, before joining the Obama administration, says the tech rhetoric around free speech has begun an obsession of the mostly white male member of the tech elite. Let me translate that. Let me here. Time. I'll put that in terms so you can understand what you're saying here. Before joining the administration, says the tech rhetoric around free speech has become an obsession of the mostly Jewish elites. Because that's what you're doing here. You are singling out a demographic, which it is fine to demonize, and going, oh, this is just because this group that we are demonizing, openly and publicly and repeatedly with no consequence. It's because of the bad people that this is happening, you see, and therefore it must be a bad thing if it is done by the bad people that we are currently ostracizing. They would rather go back to the way things were, freedom, and are couching that in terms of free speech, or we're not going to allow politics to be part of the conversation. Everything is political again. Goldman says it's naive to believe that Musk can throw out Twitter's guardrails without degrading the platform. To say you're just going to allow for any type of abuse or harassment, which he isn't, by the way, but you're ignoring that, aren't you? He says is an inherently anti-speech position, because you're going to drive out a set of users who would use your product but no longer feel safe. This is another thing. Protecting people's ability to speech by silencing others, because you have to silence them to allow these gentle butterflies to flourish, is not freedom of speech. However, saying, hey, anyone can say whatever they want, but you're gonna have to suffer the consequences of that is freedom of speech. If the soft censorship of the pussified tyrants are able to continue, we'll have what we currently have, with ever-rising censorship, ever fewer things you can talk about, and ever further demonization of certain ethnicities and certain groups, because it's okay, because we're protecting the minority. Very great. And then finally, of course, tech culture is grounded in engineering culture, which imagines itself as apolitical. Tech culture is apolitical, you see, that's why they're doing this, those silly engineers. They just don't understand humans. And often sees the world in terms of problems and solutions. That's rich coming from a progressive. And in that context, speech becomes a series of data points that get circulated through a data system, rather than expressions of social or political ideas. Focusing on free speech as a way to justify relaxing restrictions on the platform, he says, is just an engineering solution to a political problem. Yes, it's just those damned apolitical tech workers that are doing this. Let me have a quick look here. Big tech and CEOs poured millions into the election. Here's who they supported. Well, okay, we're gonna see everyone supporting Donald Trump here, right? Everyone's gonna be for Donald Trump because they're apolitical. They want as much freedom as possible. They want as little censorship as possible. And since Joe Biden is an active proponent of that, this'll all go one way. Alphabet, Joe Biden. Microsoft, Joe Biden. Amazon, Joe Biden. Facebook, Joe Biden. Apple, Joe Biden. Netflix, Democratic super PACs. Finally, a break from tradition. And Twitter, Joe Biden. Yes, the apolitical nature of tech workers. My God, this is weaponized cope. This is an article written by a person who is actually literally evil. I'm not mincing words. Actually, literally for authoritarianism, who are for censorship, who are anti-free speech, who haven't even looked at reality for God only knows how many years because they can't see past the clouds, presumably, going, oh, this is a male issue. You see, it's the white males, it's the Satan creatures issue, and we must fight it because we can't have engineers, apolitical people determining what freedom of speech is. That would be awful. This is the reality we find ourselves in. And by God, if this is the quality of the argumentation against free speech, here's the thing too. The biggest change in the political landscape that is going to come, potentially, from Twitter actually becoming a free speech platform, is a return to the old dynamics of about 10 odd years ago, when anyone could say whatever they wanted. And these arguments, ridiculous on the face of it as they are, would be laughed out of every single society. Every single element of our world would look at this and go, hold on, women don't care about freedoms? The hell are you on about? Apolitical tech workers? What? We have the numbers. It will be a return to actual discourse where ridiculous notions like these will be called ridiculous. The reason why this side, these journalists, have had to resort to the incredibly heavy-handed censorship that they have introduced is because their arguments have no merit. And if, finally, we can actually return to the argumentation based on the merits, I think we can finally have some hope that something might actually happen, as that is the primary reason why the bullshit has been getting more and more out of hand, as you are simply not allowed to make the argument anymore, as many of them have been straight up, well, made illegal. Discussing a certain trial a little while ago, for example, about some self-defense shootings, was an automatic ban or deplatforming on most of these platforms. Discussing a certain orange man, or talking to him, or even discussing someone talking to him, is also an automatic deplatforming. Mentioning a certain virus was also an automatic ban for quite a while. The status of argumentation on the internet has reached absolute rock bottom, and if Twitter can actually finally turn that around, for once, I am having a very positive view of the future. But we'll have to see how exactly Elon decides to go about it, because it is far from guaranteed yet that he will truly be the free speech champion that he presents himself as, and that we hope that he is. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.